Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Wisdom Exchange number 18. We're going to go deep into philosophy, talking about Plato's cave and your hero's journey. So, this is going to be talking about all of mythology. So, from India, from Greece, from Harry Potter to the Matrix, all your favorite fantasies and movies being distilled into one model, one hero's journey. And that was distilled by Joseph Campbell. And also, Plato's analogy of the cave is talking about the illusion of the cave and how we can have a more clearer understanding in life. So, why is this really important? Because, as I shared in my Instagram before from Dr. Chatterjee's podcast, there was a nurse who spent time with dying people and they had top five regrets. One of them was not expressing themselves to the highest potential of what they could have done in their life, and also letting other people dictate or affect what they wanted to do, and not just expressing their potential. So I just really want to speak to that. If you're in your 20s and 30s, or even more, but if you're in a job or if you're in a life situation that's not serving you. So, for example, we've seen a lot of people in their 50s and 60s have back problems, sitting in their chairs too long, or sitting in the office. And we've seen from the blue zone, people are not necessarily very rich, but they're very happy and they have a spark in their life and a spark in their eye from living their life. And a lot of people, especially in the West or in a corporate setting, are not fulfilled with what they're doing. And so, really want to speak to if you're in your 20s and 30s, and maybe you're doing a prestigious role by society, but you yourself are not fulfilled. Or maybe you're asked to do a lot of night shifts and that is affecting you, but you have the choice to do something else. Or you're sitting at your desk at a job day to day. It's like a hamster wheel. You're repeating yourself over and over, but it's not fulfilling. It doesn't have to be like that. When we were children, when you were a child, you may have had lots of hopes and dreams of faith of the world. And when you die, you think about when you die, what would you have wanted to achieve as a human being? So that is the really confrontation we have to get to. And that has to go into the subconscious and the hero's journey. Are we going to be happy with our life the way we left it when we die? And are we doing our childhood and our inner child justice the way we're living life? Or are we just living day to day just because of a narrative? Or are we settling? Are we settling for something? So the point we want to get to with the journey is let's not settle. Let's try to understand how we can unleash our true potential, how we can live life with a spark in our eye. And when we die, that we realize and that we are grateful that we lived a life that we truly wanted. So I know that sounds a lot, maybe it sounds intense, but hopefully that lights the fire in your belly and the passion in your heart to really do the things you want to do in your life and light that spark in your eye, no matter what age you are. Because I believe ultimately that's important for us to do as humans, because we have this life, we're in this human body, we have certain skill sets, we have a unique personality, and the world is our oyster, really. So let's not be held back by any narratives or any culture or any people around the life, maybe with a narrative which has settled. Let's not settle. So let's dive in to that Plato's analogy of the cave. And you can tell when these analogies are thousands of years on, still live on now, they are powerful. And Plato's analogy of the cave, if you haven't seen The Matrix, is also in The Matrix as well. It's just a more modern update. So let's dive into this. You might have seen it before. If you haven't, if you don't know who Plato is, there's three big Greek philosophers thousands of years ago. And hopefully, I have a blog later on coming out where I actually visited the school of Socrates. But Plato was a philosopher along with Aristotle and Socrates. And he talked about this Plato's analogy of the cave. And you can tell that it's lasted for a long time because it was true then, and it's more than true now, right? With our people addicted to coffee to go throughout the day, nothing wrong with coffee, but people are addicted to caffeine and coffee to try to go throughout their day. Maybe they're addicted to junk food. You'll see McDonald's, maybe materialism, buying good fast fashion and goods, maybe just binge watching TV over and over and over, and not really living the life they want to live. And maybe going on holiday to escape their current reality. But their current reality is maybe filled with pain or complaining, etc. So now that we've established this in our life, how can this apply to the general humanity? So let's start with us and opinions that people round about us are having. So the idea of Plato's cave is that there were slaves raised in this cave and they've never got to see the real world, which is up there. And because they were raised from birth, they don't know any better. They're surrounded by these opinions of their friends, of their family, of their society, of their school. So this could be example like pick this subject, pick that subject, go to this uni. Oh, you should have this ideal partner from this certain cultural background. You should get married by this age. You should look like this, etc. They're all ideal projections of the society that are programmed and scripted into our mind at a young age. And so we don't know any better. We are children. And this could also be a money mindset. Like you have to work hard until you're 50 or 60, earn a pension, then you can live life freely. Or you can only earn this much money, right? Etc. So you can see all these sort of opinions, just like a flea in a jar. A flea has a potential of jumping so high, but when you put a flea in a jar and you condition it enough, it only starts to jump this much. And so the flea's children also can only jump this much. And so even if you lift the lid of the jar, the flea, its children, its grandchildren never jump as high again, as high as their potential. They're only going to jump till the lid of the jar because they've been conditioned that way. The same with us, the same with the narratives, the same with the society. So what you'll find is that, for example, in an office environment, you might be feeling one way before, but as soon as you're in an office environment, as soon as you're in that culture and in that setting, you might find yourself conditioned to speak in a certain way, to act in a certain way, to listen in a certain way. Same as a meeting environment. Now we have these particulars. Particulars you can see are just projections in a wall of shadows. And the slaves look up and they believe these distorted shadows, which are actually people behind this wall carrying these fake things with this sun, this fire, as a projection, projecting these shadows are distorted. And we see that, the society sees that. And we see all these fake animals, these fake illusions, maybe of money, of grand houses, of grand cars, of status, and we think that's what we should be pursuing. And the other slaves agree that that is, yes, we should be achieving for that. Yes, we should be achieving for that. We should be getting this sort of partnership or ideal partner. We should be getting this sort of status. We should be getting this, job, etc. But they are all, I don't know who these people are carrying these illusions. It's not stated, but you can project that in your mind. Is it higher up people in the society? Is it people who own corporations, etc.? It's up to you to decide. But anyway, these people are kept here and they can only see these distorted perceptions in the shadows. However, one person escapes from the empirical world, the world of empiricism, right? If you don't know what that is, you can Google that as well. But just think about that word. They pass this sun. So they're no longer at the mercy and at the illusion of the projections of the sun. As soon as you pass this fire, what happens? You're past the source of the illusions and you can make up the ascent to knowledge. So if you've ever traveled and you've gone on holiday and you've gone on a solo trip, you'll realize, wow, my life and all the people in my life and all my work, etc., are actually a set of narratives. And now that you've went on holiday, etc., you've had an experience, right? You might find that you're questioning your reality in the same way. You become a philosopher. Remember, wisdom and philosophy. Phil is love. Sophia is a love of knowledge, love of wisdom. So all a philosopher is a love of knowledge, a love of wisdom, a love of knowing the true reality. That's all a philosopher is. And so they enter the realm of forms, higher forms, lower forms, form of the good, more real truth. And so for the first time, this is if this is abstract, it's just an analogy. For the first time, you're really able to understand, oh my God, actually what I've been living, what I've been doing, what I've been surrounded by is not serving me. I don't maybe have to work in this way. I don't have to work these long hours. I don't have to work in a job that I don't want to be working in. I don't have to be in a relationship or surrounded by people that I don't want to be surrounded by. I don't have to be chasing things that's not actually serving me in my life. You can start to, as Bruce Lee said, hack away at the inessentials. And you don't really know what fresh air smells like until you come out of the room. And then you smell that fresh air and you're like, oh, I actually never want to go back. Right? If you ever go into nature, you ever go hiking, it's so silent in the mountain. You're not rushing, your mind is not rushing. In the same way, when we are kids, life is quite quiet for some kids. And also when we are old and we look back in our life, but we're in this busyness of life. So taking a break, going to that realm of forms, understanding, and that person, he's not able to see because he's grown up in the cave. It's blinding to him. He can't believe the whole illusion of being in the cave has just shattered. It shattered his illusion. His whole facade, his whole understanding of life is broken, and he feels confused. But slowly he starts to look around at this mountain, at the higher form, at the lake, at the trees, and eventually is able to look at the sun, the the source, the real sun, the source of it all, right? For itself. And he's able to understand this is reality past the narratives. And as any philosopher does, he tries to go back down to the cave, tries to go back to the cave and tell his people, hey, you know, look, this is not the truth. You're looking at these particulars. There's all these people holding it. It's a shadow. Even the sun that you think is the sun is not true. All these things you're chasing is not true. And the people are thinking you're crazy. They're going to be maybe rejecting him because if they're like, where have you been? And they're going to try to say, no, no, come back. And that person's maybe going to doubt themselves that they ever went into this place. If you ever know the Matrix and Neo and Morpheus, same story. And that might rebuff the philosopher's effort, or the person who escaped the cave is going to rebuff his effort to try to um, help these people or show them this truth or break the narratives. But that's only going to make alienate them more, right? It's going to alienate the opinion of them more and shun him away. Or he's going to lose hope or have some kind of existential crisis. So, so can you see this happening in your life? That's also a question. I know this is abstract, but can you find areas where you find people chasing things, or maybe you yourself chasing things over and over and realizing these things are not serving you? Any times that you've regretted things and realized at nighttime or, when you're on holiday, actually, I don't want to live life like this. And, in 10, 5, 10 years time, Do I want to live a life like this? This is the analogy of the cave. So before we go into the next slide, which is the hero's journey, breaking down all the matrix and everything else, all the hero's journey you've ever had, let's go a bit to the whiteboard, our favorite friend, the whiteboard. And last time I noticed talking into this microphone, I was cutting off before. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to talk a bit less when I'm over there, but then come back. So you can see that behind me, the hero's journey, there is a circle. Okay. And I'm just going to show we have a circle called the hero's journey. Separation is the first stage. And this is really you're at your ordinary world and you really have a call to do something out of the ordinary, something changing. Maybe you want to go to the gym, maybe you want to go on this trip, but it's scary, right? Maybe you feel called to do something. Maybe it's a career change. Maybe you want to learn something new. Maybe you want to quit your job. I don't know, wherever it is, right? But there's something new, but you're scared. And you see that? There's a refusal. So there's this game maybe you're playing right now. There's a call to do something you really want to change, but there's a refusal, there's a fear, right? And there, that is the separation journey. And so Joseph Campbell understood in this mythology series, like Neo in the Matrix, he's sitting at his computer every day, typing things in, and he gets a message: follow the right white rabbit. And then he gets a knock on the door, and a woman on her shoulder has a white rabbit, right? Or you have all these other stories as well in mythology where the hero gets called to do something, but he refuses. But eventually, there comes maybe a mentor, or there becomes an aide, right? And he crosses this threshold from the known world to the unknown world. And so, the unknown world at the bottom, you can see there is an ordeal at the bottom. And this, he makes new allies, he makes new enemies, and there's a road of trials. So if you've ever gone to do a new journey, you'll find that it's hard. It's an unknown world, whether it be small as going to the gym or doing a new job, whether it's solo traveling, you'll find that you meet new friends, you might meet new enemies inside yourself. You might find because you're outside your comfort zone, there's going to be certain fears that come up. There's going to be certain hardships that come up that you got to have to push yourself through, and there will be a series of ordeals that you can see at the bottom. But as a circular journey, you're gonna be coming back up. And so when you're in this unknown world, when you're in the deep world of your learning, of the hardships, whether you're having that death of a mentor who first helped you into that world and suddenly you're alone now, you have some temptation, like you can't do it and you've given up, but just at that moment that you feel like you've given up, you might find yourself actually completing some challenge. You might find yourself progressing at the gym. You might find yourself actually overcoming um, things that you didn't want to do, or you might find yourself overcoming this challenge. And that when you've overcome that challenge and when you've started to master something, and whether you started coming at the flow state, so good ideas. I was scared to start this YouTube channel. I was scared to go live. I was scared to maybe talk about these type of things. I was scared maybe to start coaching. All these things are part of the hero's journey. But what do you learn? I was also scared to go solo traveling, right? But what do you learn when you're at that unknown world? You start to achieve a sense of understanding and confronting your fears, and you start to achieve a sense of victory. But when you start to return you actually have a refusal to return because you don't want to come to the real world again. You want to maybe stay in that world, in that unknown world. You wanna you wanna not come to your back to the normal world. Like we've always talked about meaty peaty, right? But that ultimate reward comes from now what you've learned, now putting that into the two world. And so the hero becomes master of the two worlds. So I'll just let you have a look at that there. So separation, initiation, return, and then you come back to the status quo, but you're able to maybe bring something now, something to either the community you're in or to your own life, to your own job. You're able to bring a change to the status quo, and you can keep reenacting that hero's journey. So remember, we just talked about Plato's cave, about going, understanding, and coming back, and that illusion of truth. Now look at this a bit more in detail, right? This call. So maybe you are working in a job that you don't like. Maybe you're doing lots of shifts. Maybe you're feeling tired. Maybe it's not serving you. Maybe society said this is good. You're doing the right thing, but the system is not serving you. And this is not serving your mental health, your physical health, what is not serving your mental health, not your physical health? What is not sparking joy in your life? You know, and how can you enact this hero's journey? What would it take? What in your deepest belly, in your deepest heart, in your deepest soul, do you feel called to do? Do you feel like you can add something to your life or take away something for your life? Imagine your life in a week or a year or a month, and imagine you taking away something in your life and adding something to your life that would make your life perfect, right? And now, if you were to do that today or next week, what would you have to do? And that is that refusal of the call, right? And who would you have to go and seek out? Who would you have to ask to do that, right? If you had to change your life, if you had to move somewhere, if you had to learn a new skill or move a new job or find a new group or learn something new. And what would that take for you to cross the threshold? And then when you're in that threshold, then you'll know. Then you'll be meeting the fears, right? What do you need to do to live the life you truly want? Coming back up into the unknown world of the subconscious. We do this again, we face the fears. That's why all mythologies, like I said before, are like dreams. They have this language of dreams because they're the language of the subconscious. They're the language of symbolism. They're the language of mythologies. And so we have this mythology in our head where we try to break this narrative, the narrative of the slave, and then come back to the return world. So I really hoped this helped you understand this hero's journey and then the masters of the two world and a return to the known world. So I hope this helped you understand this hero's journey, how this is actually a common thing that goes through all of humanity, right? Through as far back as the ancient Greek myths of Prometheus to Disney characters up until the Matrix, you know? So throughout all of humanity, we've had this hero's journey. We look up to people who keep reenacting this hero's journey, and they are stars and they are celebrities, and they have gone into the unknown world. They've actually looked deep into themselves and understood, what do I want to do in this life I have on earth? What do I want to do? And how do I make myself never settle and grow? And how do I make myself live the life I really want to do and really become the master of the two worlds and not being a slave to myself or my circumstances, but really make lemonade out of lemons? You know, these cliche quotes. With your life right now, how can we make the lemonade out of the lemons? How do we make it So we are not suffering in 5, 10 years' time, that we're really wanting to live a life that we want, that we are independent and engaged. And yes, that does take fear. Yes, that does take talking from your deepest soul and being vulnerable. Like Brene Brown says in her TED Talk. I would recommend you watch that. Just type in Brene Brown if you're interested in vulnerability, if you're interested in courage and being more open and having to talk more from your heart. Listen to Bernie Brown's TED Talk on vulnerability. But if you really want to live the life you want to, and I'm doing this myself, of course, but I think that sharing this also helps me and also helps others. Because yes, you have to put your own oxygen mask on, but it's very hard to achieve perfection. And so, as a coach and as someone who's learning, I think it's still worthwhile to share these things while learning myself. And of course, there's a lot more to learn in the future for everyone. So, I hope this helps, this hero's journey. Try to enact it in yourself. Look up Joseph Campbell on YouTube. Learn a bit deeper into the mythology, into the nature of the subconscious, into the nature of things like Lord of the Rings, Frodo Baggins or Bilbo going on this quest and coming back. What does he learn? Right? You'll see this enacting through multiple movies. So again, if you're interested to really achieve your potential, where you are stuck in your life, whether your career, where your relationship, you're not alone. There's so many coaches out there who want to help you. There's so many people out there who want to help you. You are not alone. If you want to understand yourself, there is a personality package that's free in the description box below. I've put together 4 or 5 free personality tests, like via strengths test. Really find out your strengths so you can leverage that. Enneagram, a personality test that goes into your underlying motivation of your personality so you can find what's challenging you, but also what gifts you're bringing to the world. The Myers Briggs test, MBTI, your top cognitive functions in the world, how you communicate, how you see the world. You know, I'm going to be adding DISC as well, which a lot of HR companies use in corporate. And then there's also one more test that I seem to be forgetting. But anyway, they are. What is that test? Anyway, free personality package below. Some good reflective questions. If you do them and you're interested in going further and you want a free strategy session, feel free to book that. All the details are in that personality package. But just try to understand yourself better if you're interested in this stuff. Try to really see what you can bring to this world, and so we can just live a cool, chill, and aligned life. You know, sometimes it's intense, sometimes it's chill, but that's just life as long as we're learning and growing. So that's it for today. That was half an hour. I really enjoyed that because I feel like I spoke from my heart today, but also some logic. Have a good day, everybody. That's been Wisdom Exchange Live 18. I hope you learned something new. As always, like it if you liked it. If you have any questions, reach out to me on Instagram. Other than that, I wish you a good day ahead. Bye bye, everybody.